George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell drop bombshells on Joe Rogan. USA Today says UFOs are becoming mainstream, and there's a secret embedded in the Arrow website. Let's go over it. It's time for another UFO news roundup, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, please share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Oh, and if you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider becoming a channel member. See the link in the description below. Okay, let's go over a couple of juicy clips from the recent Joe Rogan show with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp.
Yeah, look at this. The federal government shall exercise eminent domain over any and all recovered technologies of unknown origin and biological evidence of non-human intelligence that may be controlled by private persons or entities in the interests of the public good. Wow.
Yeah, dude.
The fact that that is in that paper is crazy.
So it's not passed yet. So that's what. So they're going to debate this when they get back from what they call recess now. Yeah. So it's really good that everybody hears this. This is going to be debated by your representatives. This needs to pass, or we're screwed. This has to pass, and then the president has to sign it.
It's important, too. You got to figure that if, say, Lockheed or one of these big aerospace companies really does have this stuff, it's incredibly valuable. I mean, it would be worth untold millions of dollars. The technology that could to change the world forever. So they don't want to give it up, if not just for national security reasons, and because of the value of it, monetary value. So this would change that and take it.
What it's going to do is within the intelligence communities, it's going to inform everybody on a bigger scale, which means we could have better scientists on it. We could have better people working on it. I do hope that splashes over to the public, that we get to learn more about this, because I want to learn more about it.
Of course. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
It's just wild seeing that language.
Yeah.
It just does not seem like they would put something like that in there unless they knew something.
Yeah, exactly. This is Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader, who got up. He didn't just slip it into the bill. He made a big deal about it. He made an announcement, a speech on the floor, and emphasized that, having that non-human intelligence in that bill 26 times is astonishing. And the fact that he says the White House supported it shows how far we've come in a short period of time.
So great information from George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell. I love Joe Rogan's reaction and how sincere it is. And kudos to him for bringing this forward and giving these guys a platform and this information a platform. But yeah, this clip definitely underscores the importance of the Schumer-Rounds Amendment and how we should all be rooting for it to go forward. But I do wonder at the actual details of how it would be carried out if it were indeed passed in a robust fashion. When the government, enacted eminent domain or whatever to get a hold of the UFOs themselves, would they necessarily have to take them from Lockheed Martin and etc., or is it enough simply to get access to them? Because what are they going to do with these UFOs once they get them? Are they going to enact their own UFO reverse engineering or study program that is actually in the public purview? Could we get the control group or some of the stuff that they are doing actually in the public purview? Wouldn't that be fun? Not just fun, of course, but absolutely necessary. This is what we need. So yeah, I hope that happens. But there's a lot of juicy stuff in that interview. I recommend going and watching the full podcast with Joe Rogan. But here's another little bit.
Back to it.
You look back at the beginning of the cover-up, why did it happen? Why did it start? Well, if 1947, this gigantic wave of UFOs suddenly appear. You got Kenneth Arnold, you got Roswell, hundreds of sightings all over. We'd just come out of World War II. And our military is faced with a new threat that they really don't know what the hell it is. They start looking at it and try to figure it out, but they can't. So they sort of painted themselves into a corner of secrecy. Nobody wants to admit, if you're a president or chairman of the Joint Chiefs, there's something flying in our atmosphere, and we can't control it. We can't even catch it. We can't detect it on radar. There's not much we can do. They don't want to admit that. Secondly, I think what was told to me by a Senate intelligence guy who was a chief staffer who oversaw black budget operations. He had come out to Area 51 looking into the Lazar stuff years ago, early 90s. And he told me, look, if this is true, if this cover-up is going on, if they are diverting millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars from legitimate national security programs to keep this cover-up going, as he suspected there were, then somebody's going to go to prison. When it comes out, they'd go to prison. I think we heard Dave Grush speaking before this House committee in late July, in which he talked about special access programs, hundreds of millions of dollars being funneled into them. Nothing ever comes out. Congress has no oversight. Congress doesn't even know they exist. That's the kind of thing you could send somebody to prison if and when it comes out. And then the final reason, we can only speculate about it, maybe there really is a big secret. I wonder about it. If I was told, here's the real deal, here's what's going to happen if this comes out, society will collapse. It is so overwhelming, so disturbing that it would hit the fan, that everybody'd freak out. Maybe there is something like that. I don't know. But it gets dangerous for us to allow military folks to decide, I can know it, but you can't. Dad can know, but mom and the kids can't know. I don't like that. I'd like to be able to know myself.
That's an interesting point about people going to prison, and I think that is absolutely a reality, and that is probably part of the reason for the cover-up, is they've done some shady stuff. And if all this came out into, if it became transparent, if they became transparent with it, then they would be held accountable for their actions, and they don't want that. Does that mean we need to have some sort of amnesty program in place to allow these guys to come forward without fear of retribution and imprisonment? Maybe, it's hard to reconcile that with some of the shady stuff they have done, assassinations, brainwashing, fake alien abductions, all MK Ultra, all that kind of weird stuff that they seem to have been doing. I'm not saying MK Ultra is part of it, but who knows? But I do think they have done stuff like that with the false alien abductions. Now, by and large, most alien abductions are genuine non-human abductions. Some of them are assisted by humans. The agents of the control group are sometimes help the aliens are there during the abductions. But most of the abductions are carried out by non-humans. However, there are some that aren't, that do seem to be, have been performed by the control group or something like that. And that is just one more crime that they would have to answer for when this all comes out. So should we give them an amnesty? I don't know. It's really hard to make peace with that. I support giving amnesty for the, technicians and reverse engineer people, the scientists, people that are, retrieving these craft, that sort of thing. It's harder to, forgive assassinations and all the other stuff that they seem to have done. But George goes on to talk about some of the things I was talking about yesterday. When the exchange between James Fox and Bob Bigelow, how Bob was afraid that because based on studies he had seen, that there'd be mass panic and societal collapse if UFO disclosure happened. Well, George has some more information about that, and he may be referencing the same study. So let's listen.
I don't like it either, but why do they think that society would collapse?
There was a Brookings Institute study that was done in 1960 where they looked at it. And, let's say it was confirmed that we came out and admitted that extraterrestrials are here. And they speculated, in looking at sociological matters, that social institutions would collapse. Do people want to still pay their taxes? Do they want to go to work? It was so overwhelming. The fact that we, a lesser species, have been discovered by something more intelligent. We know from human history how that works out. When the Europeans come to North America, we know what happens to the people who are already here, the less developed society. They collapsed. They were wiped out. And I think that was the projection of that study. The only way to get around that, they said, is to prepare for it over a long period of time, to condition folks to get ready for it. Now, I don't know if there was ever a policy where they instituted that, but it kind of looks like it. All the UFO and alien movies and TV shows and X-Files this and books and reports and children's cartoons, it almost looks like we've been conditioned to get ready for it over the last 60 years.
I like that, but I would kind of push back on that idea just a little bit, because so much of that programming, so much of that science fiction programming shows the aliens as a threat. So if this was some sort of planned initiative to get us receptive to the idea of the beings being here, I don't think it would be in a negative way unless they were trying to get us conditioned into war against them. And I think that is unlikely. Unless you are of the mind that this is a very long-running false flag of like 70 years of this false flag alien invasion scenario. I don't buy that. Now, at this point, it might be helpful to remember that we've been dealing with the beings for a long time. The control group, whoever is doing this, has been interacting consciously with beings for a long time. Here's just one example of it. This is from a UFO researcher that looked into the Kingman Crash in 1953.
30 feet in diameter, 14 feet tall. That's what you see in the drawing that I've put together here.
Yeah.
It had a series of slots going around the outer circumference of the disc. There was a small entry hatch on the lower portion of the rim, a brushed aluminum surface. It was found to be buried about 20 inches into the sand at about a 15-degree angle of attack. There were 4 humanoid figures found with the craft when the military got there. Now, according to Harry Drew, there was one that was in front of the other 3, who apparently was the quote-unquote commander. And just to go a little bit forward in this story, there was a communication between the high-level military brass and this particular commander. And he said, quote-unquote, "We will go with you only under one condition, that you do not separate us." And so that was the communication that was made between members of the retrieval team and also these beings that were, if you look at a 5'10" man, they came up to his shoulder, according to Harry Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
there's no description in these illustrations, unless I'm missing it, of these beings.
No.
Do we have any? Okay.
Only from the testimony from Arthur Stanzel. He said that the eyes were slightly further apart than ours, and they had a pointed chin. That's the description I've got in the report.
Yeah, so are those the tall whites? What are those things? They're very tall. In the Majes, Brazil case, the UFO battle over Majes, where the control group shot down a couple of UFOs and then executed the beings that were in those vehicles when the vehicles crashed. They were supposedly very tall, the size of basketball players. So is that what we're looking at, the same race or species? Or is it the tall whites? Are they one and the same? What do you guys think these people were encountering in this ship? But at any rate, it shows that there was an interaction between the control group, the military side of the control group, and the beings. And in this case, a peaceful interaction where they took these beings into custody alive and were even willing to submit to their requests. Now, how did this UFO get down in the first place? Was it a simple crash or was it a shoot down? I don't know. And there are many, many examples of the military and the control group interacting with live beings and in many cases cooperating with them and seeming to work with them and even under them. So, just keep that in mind when we're talking about UFO crash retrievals and reverse engineering. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more being kept from us. But are UFOs truly going mainstream? Well, that's what the USA Today says. From conspiracy theories to congressional hearings, how UFOs became mainstream in America. Wow, I didn't know that. Across a storied 45-year career as a New York Times staff reporter, Ralph Blumenthal had extensively covered weighty topics. And it really just goes on to detail how we got to where we are today. The New York Times and everything. Intelligence officials go public, etc. UFO lore extends back decades. It's a very comprehensive article. It goes on to talk about the hearing and David Grush. And it's a very favorable article toward the UFO phenomenon, and seemingly a very sincere article trying to catch people up to speed, and even suggesting that because of all of this, UFOs might be going mainstream. Anyway, I'm not going to read the whole article, but I just wanted to point out to you that there are very favorable articles in the mainstream news today about the UFO topic. even suggesting that it's mainstream. I don't think that it is mainstream. I have some mainstream friends that are still not on board with this. Even with UFO hearings in Congress and David Grush and new legislation that mentions non-human intelligence over 20 times, they still are not buying it. But I do appreciate the point of this article, and I thought I'd bring it out. But does Arrow's website hold a secret? Dr. Disclosure says Arrow's website holds a secret. Coordinates from a presentation on Arrow.mil are a direct map to Groom Lake in Area 51. What additional breadcrumbs are concealed within? So, I don't know. I will let you guys surf Arrow's website if it's functioning. It's a little spotty, apparently. But let me know if you see any other Easter eggs on Arrow's website. I also wanted to share this older clip from Eric Davis. I think it's really interesting.
I have a personal theory, and my boss has a different one. I'll give you mine. I believe that they are alien. Whether they're extraterrestrial, that remains to be seen. But if they're interdimensional, whether they're extraterrestrial in an interdimensional fashion or not extraterrestrial in an interdimensional fashion is irrelevant. The fact is, if they're traveling through dimensions, they've got a home somewhere. Now, where that home is, we don't know. It may not even be on the Earth. It could be on the Earth, and they're moving through dimensions that we don't have access to technologically. So it's very possible. I mean, it's not out of the question that aliens could be hiding here in the shadow biome.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out to you that Eric Davis takes it for granted that these beings, or at least some of them, are passing through dimensions and may indeed be from another dimension, or possibly the shadow biome. Maybe they have been here all along. Equally possible, maybe it's some of one, some of the other. Personally, I think the phenomenon is very varied and there's a lot of different components, and that a lot of this stuff is probably true. There's probably people from the future, people from the past, people from alternate realities, different dimensions, things that have already been here or always been here, and simply aliens from another planet in our own galaxy or reality. But that's just me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But just to make it a little bit more fun and a little bit weirder, I just wanted to refer you to these ancient Egyptian drawings of giants helping to build the pyramids. That's right. Many believe the builders of pyramids were giant people by size of 5 to 6 meters tall. These giant guys were able to lift 4 to 5 tons of blocks as depicted on Egyptian walls. And here we go. We've got pictures of giants moving blocks, and those are the size of the blocks. So what do you think, guys? Were the ancient Egyptians depicting real giants helping to build their structures? Or is this just a colorful exaggeration and fantasy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this UFO wrap-up, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. If you could share this video on social media, that'd be super helpful. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, there's a PayPal button below, or you can become a channel member. Channel members are rock stars. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your support. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.